is just fantastic.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be looking at some of the bits, clips shared all over social media of the debate between Hasan Piker and Ethan Klein. I'm going to start by saying, I believe Ethan won. This is a view shared by many who do not support either, right? It's also shared by those that obviously back Ethan and by some that used to back Hasan. At the same time, there are many who believe Hasan won. There are former anti-SJWs that support Hasan, and there are those who are orbiters that support Hasan, believing that Ethan was demolished. If you have to shout to articulate a point, you're already showing me you're not intelligent. You don't have to shout to make a point, but that's what Hasan did for a large swath of this, quote, debate. One of the glaring issues I took from this was that one interpreted information that they absorbed, or were told, the other actually knew the information. For example, Jewish people in other countries within Arab nations being hounded out around the time of the Nazis. It becomes a point, especially if you knew that, for example, there was a certain leader in one of those glorious nations that met Adolf Hitler and said they were alike because they hated communists, the English, and Jews. But revise the history and ignore the pogrom, right? Okay. We will get to some of that soon, but first, of course, we should warm ourselves up into it by going with the more, let's say, soft subjects first.
What's going on?
Well, I'm doing a debate. What about you?
That's what I'm doing as well. All right. Wait, hold on. Oh, are you going to show me all the time as well on the Zoom call?
Here, I can fix that. 1 second. Let me just set it to Ethan's output here.
If you want,
there you go.
If you want, just show like not just Ethan, but yourself as well. If you're going to talk, like that's fine.
Hey,
I don't know if it's gonna
Hasan,
be too difficult.
leave the production notes to my team. You can switch your show how you like.
This one is a completely redundant point, let's face it. Who cares how you present it? All that matters is only Ethan and Hasan are talking, because that's all that matters to me. I understand the insecurity and wanting then for Hasan to have other people present, perhaps, or perhaps have more of Ethan's co-workers or employees present as well if need be. Truthfully, this was redundant and a stall. Pointless one, but could have just gone with, how are you? How's your day? How's the weather? Oh, hang on, we both live in roughly the same area, don't we? What's the price of a Leckle Tricky over there? The first topic we really want to dive into is the subject of Content Cop. Now, Ian has done a Content Deputy, and I might go through that tomorrow, but I know Mama Bax also made a video, and I've got a very small window of opportunity to get both done if I'm going to be able to do those before I go to a gig on Wednesday. So we'll see about that. But the Content Cop discussion had to come up at some point, because, well, Hasan's in the video, of course, and barely does anything, and I doubt he would have done the dance because he is very closed off. Well, to an extent.
How was filming that content? I just have to know what you felt, what you were thinking as they were doing the Fortnite L behind you.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
No. We're here. I don't want to talk about definitions. You got your Zionism, and let's do
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it was fine.
Did you not?
I've participated in other YouTube videos as well in the past.
No, but that Fortnite L dancing.
Some of them feature sketches.
Something you're going to notice throughout is Hasan wants to very much control and dictate the flow of the conversation. Something you'll also notice is, at certain points, Ethan does during the debate concede some points and tries to point out that if Hasan doesn't, he is quite clearly promoting terrorism. It doesn't work, because Hasan never yields any point at any point ever. When it comes to him working on other people's content, this was the most low-effort version of him making any concerted effort in someone else's content. Which I guess makes some sense. This video, this Content Cop, was pretty bad. It's resoundingly majority now dislike. The only good thing for iDubbbz is that this will offset him making money in the future, I guess. Losses. We don't have to worry about him being in Creator Clash now after all, but I doubt that will save the event. Who knows though?
I noticed you weren't in the other shots. Why was that?
I think I was being interviewed.
Oh, really?
By
Who was
the
interviewing
journalist while that was happening.
Really?
I can't. I don't remember.
Really? Oh, that's convenient. I think you were embarrassed, frankly. You were absent from every other shot. I think you saw him doing that. I think you saw him doing that Fortnite dance, and you said, "I got to get out of this." And by the way, I'm giving you credit for that.
I mean, Ethan, you're a comedian. You know, you participated in some sketches.
Difference is, When Ethan's done his parts, like in the Rice Gum diss track, yeah, he just lent into it. Because he doesn't give a crap. His sketches in the past were always about making people laugh. That was the point. You don't. You're not a comedian. You can't tell a joke. You're not a naturally funny person. You're very much a grifter. And people might not like to hear that, but it's very much a reality. You've been proven as such with this debate because your style of collecting information relies on your chat and those around you. You don't actually do any research of your own, and it shows. So we should probably dive into a topic that they allude to and see how we get on with that, because it's going to get heated at some points, and I'm not remotely sorry.
You have that much of an issue with swastikas considering you drew one on PewDiePie.
I'm a Jewish man, you fucking moron.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Is anyone in that room Jewish?
Was
anyone in that room? Did I draw swastika one time on?
Do you think that Jews have an exclusivity agreement with like being offended or not offended by Nazi imagery? You've done a Sig Heil approximately what 50 times.
Why did I do a Sig Heil? Why did I do a Sig Heil?
This is an obligatory fair use interjection because I would rather just play the entire clip. I know what Ethan's about to suggest, and I'm going to state, because of who it comes from, and much like what he's referencing, I get his point. I can't comment on it. I'm blue. It's not my area of expertise. I understand the equivalence though, and we're going to get there now.
I don't know.
Because you only watch clips on Twitter. I was making fun of Elon Musk and trying to see if it was valid or not.
Oh, thank you.
And by the way, as a Jewish man, are you going to tell black people not to use the N-word?
Wait, what?
Are you going to tell black people not to use the N-word because it offends you?
Do you think this is an apt comparison?
Yes.
Okay. So you think that being able to draw the your anti-Semitism radar is completely out of whack.
And who are you to say that to me? You pose with a swastika.
You're saying that it's not a swastika, and you know it's not a swastika.
I mean, it literally is a swastika.
No, it's not.
All in all, so far, this has been quite cordial, right? There's been some argumentative aspects. A false equivalence, of course, is still a false equivalence, and sure, there is a point there. I do think, though, that at the same time, Ethan has a valid point. People claim ownership of words, and actions and deeds all the time. This is hardly something new. So let's continue and see who cracks first.
Are you not embarrassed by this armpit hair? It's so cringy, bro. It's like so weird. I'm glad you changed that finally. On a separate note.
What?
I find it just so weird and bizarre that this was your thumbnail for so long. Also, ironically wearing a Rolex hat, which is like probably the symbol of capitalist excess.
Yeah. I got a free Rolex hat from a friend of mine. I still wear it every now and then.
Oh wow, who knew?
Ignoring the profile picture part, a rather good point that Ethan lent into was the hypocrisy of Hasan. For example, claiming to boycott certain companies that were endorsed by other companies that are haram, of course. Sorry, haram! While he sits there drinking a Dr. Pepper.
By the way, is that a beat? Hold on, what are you drinking?
It's a Dr. Pepper cream soda.
Who owns that?
I don't know, but it's not on the BDS
national
BDS list.
We'll double check.
Yes, I'm 100% sure. I'm 100% sure. I'm 100% sure. I'm 100% sure.
Getting caught out multiple times, Hasan does get undone by his own impulsiveness. Now, we are going to start to have to edge more into the more serious topics. I'm going to state verbatim, I am not as informed on these subjects, so I'm going to only interject fair use reasons by stating a few obvious facts. Let's go with that.
And I've also, on top of that, called Jill Stein
you didn't endorse
over
her.
and over and over again. But for some weird reason, despite the fact that I voted live, mind you,
and you didn't say
lying
who
to your audience, and you kept lying to your audience.
I said,
and
I
you
think.
kept making it seem as though I didn't even vote or I urged people not to vote. There's never been a moment where I said do not vote.
Who did you vote for?
I voted for Kamala Harris. You got a problem?
No one has a problem, Hasan, with you voting for an alcoholic that had no policies of note or worth. You were in a no-win situation, so you voted. It's quite alright. Didn't you criticize Kamala during the campaign? No, it doesn't matter. It's quite alright. Not going to give much more in the way of an opinion. I have a Labour government that hates its own people. What do I know, eh? But I will play a little bit more of this particular part before we go to the next clip.
I got no problem, but I think there's people in your audience that would.
You don't have a problem. You don't have a problem.
Why
with
didn't you
that.
endorse her then?
Do you keep saying I voted for Jill Stein?
I said I think because you didn't say who you voted for.
Oh,
yeah,
you
that's
think.
what I said. It's an opinion.
Oh, you think. Oh, you don't give a dude. It doesn't matter who I vote for anyway. You're out of your mind. I did not endorse Kamala Harris, and I will never endorse Kamala Harris.
The logic that Hasan presents for why he decided to vote for Kamala is what many people say when you have a two-party system. So we don't need to go with that. We're going to go to more of Hasan getting a bit more elevated, because you may have noticed that the voice isn't as measured, because Hasan is starting to fray a little. That's not to say Ethan doesn't, or that Ethan is perfect in this debate. Just stating things are going to get a bit more heated as we go through these clips.
That
I'm not defending the Nakba.
From separate countries, he would laugh at you.
Your failure
Do you not understand?
to acknowledge the trauma of both groups is the reason why you are a radical fucking propagandist liar. Both trauma needs to be acknowledged by both groups. There's two things that need to be true for this ever to be resolved peacefully.
You're right.
Palestinian self-determination and Israel's right to have secure borders.
Zionism
as long as you ignore that, there will always be war. Palestinians will always die, and you will continue to make money from it.
The one chance Hasan actually could have made some inroads in a conversation, he had to be sarcastic in response. But it's a response, and these two are getting more heated on topics that are quite complicated for me anyway. I enjoyed this debate because I learnt a lot about interpretation of information, not the actual information. For that, I actually had to go look for it, and then realised I don't have time for all that. I had a barbecue over the minute. I really didn't have time.
Didn't leave because we were Zionists. We left because we were no longer safe.
Okay.
Explain to me.
I can't wait to bring up obviously on the broadcast to make you look like a dumbass.
I can't wait to. And now explain what he means by that. We did not leave Iraq because we were Zionists. We left because we were no longer safe.
Iraqis are not Palestinian. You moron. You racist piece of shit.
What?
Because Iraq and the pan-Arabic nationalist movements that arise out of
You are out of your mind.
Is not about Palestinians.
Okay, so what did the Jews in Iraq have to do with Israel, you bigot?
This was my favourite part of the entire debate, because Hasan has completely lost his shit, and I'll be honest, I don't care for shouting in debates. I think if you do it, you're doing it from a place of lack of intelligence. You can be frustrated without having to raise your voice. It's not overly difficult. Maybe he's just not English enough, obviously. That said, this is where I saw many people arguing over who was right, and I found that fascinating, because under a clip of this very part, Oren Barsky had tweeted out, exactly 83 years ago, the Palestinian Arab leader who fled to Iraq, initiated and led the Fuhad, a brutal pogrom carried out against the Jews of Baghdad and Iraq in general. Even before 1948 and hundreds of kilometers from Israel, a Palestinian Arab was behind the murder of innocent Jews. Included is a clip of a man talking about this. Underneath are pictures. There are pictures of that man, that Palestinian that fled, sitting with the likes of Adolf Hitler. This ain't a good look. This is why, to me, and how I interpret all of this, this entire discussion is so massively complicated. No one should rely on social media influencers for this. I'm not surprised that I didn't know anything about this, because there are many people who would wish for this to not be known widely, which also really doesn't surprise me at the same time, because there are many countries in that region of the world that definitely want their past to be erased.
You are so out of your mind.
And then Iraqis,
dude, you screaming and grandstanding doesn't mean you're right.
Iraqi government's racism during the pan-Arabic nationalist movements as a vindication for why, or a comparison as to why Israel had to do the Nakba.
Do you think that
racist piece of shit?
Thanks, Hasan.
Do you think Iraq? Do you think all Arabs have one fucking mind?
Why
is that what you think?
Were the Iraqi Jews leaving Iraq in fear?
Of course there were Iraqi Jews that left Iraq in fear. I've never said that there were no
Answer
Iraqi
the question.
Jews that left
You want to
Iraq
call
in
me
fear.
racist? Why were Iraqi Jews leaving to go to Israel?
Because you're a moron.
That's why they left. They left because I'm a fucking moron.
That Arabs are
Hasan,
not one-minded.
You coward.
That there
you
were numerous
coward.
pan-Arabic nationalist
Answer the question. You're going to call me racist, but you won't answer. Why did the Iraqi Jews leave Iraq?
I liked the first time you'd asked that and he bothered to answer. Hasan's answer was because you're and that already was lost. It was aimed at Ethan instead. I have now shown you why, based on limited information that I could find, and my limited understanding, because again, I don't get involved in any of this. This comes down to a lot of religion as well, and intolerance. This is not my area of expertise for a reason. But to watch and observe is fascinating. And it's fascinating to watch the lolcow in waiting as the wheels click in his head to try and find an answer and maintain the energy he is maintaining. Which, by the way, is completely unsustainable. He can't do that for too long.
There were numerous
because of
reasons.
anti-Semitism. They hated Jewish people that had nothing to do with Israel. They were forced to leave. They were chased out. They lived there for thousands of years. They had businesses, they had homes that they were forced to abandon to go to Israel because it was the only place they could. Why would Iraqis hate the Jews living there if they had nothing to do with Zionists or Israel? Why?
Because settler colonialism
that has nothing to do with them, you absolute dumbass.
Settler colonialism. Now, that's not a term I've heard in a while, although it is often used as a kind of gotcha in many pointless discussions. Everything's colonialism, everything's about those damn pesky settlers. This point was used to really drive home just how out of his depth Hasan was, certainly in the online space. Many others that do debates that are left-leaning and right-leaning hammered Hasan for this one. Some got blocked, it was quite funny. But let's continue with another clip.
Several locations across the Gaza periphery, including in the form of gang during the October 7th, 2023 attack. Credible circumstantial information, which may be indicative of some forms of sexual violence, including genital mutilation, sexualized torture, cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, was also gathered.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'm gonna walk you
through this. Are they hallucinating?
No. So you just don't know what words mean. So credible circumstantial evidence. Do you know what that means?
Yes, it means you're about to say that the goalposts need to be moved because I need something a bit more concrete than credible circumstantial evidence. I'm going to need something more. And by the way, there was a survivor of certain heinous sexual crimes in Ethan's chat. They were livid with what you're about to say. They were fuming with your interpretation of that.
It means that there's, yeah, of course.
Credible circumstantial evidence is not a substitute for forensic evidence. Credible
That's why I said Pixar didn't happen, bro.
Not
you need rape kits.
Prosecute.
Hasan needs rape kits.
Credible circumstantial evidence is not enough.
Pixar didn't happen, right?
Prosecute, which is precisely the reason why the Israeli prosecutors themselves have said that in the absence of a singular victim coming out, and also with all of the forensic evidence that has been tarnished already.
Show me evidence for anything you're saying.
What?
That's not. Show me evidence for anything you're claiming that isn't some unhinged freak on Twitter.
He doesn't, by the way. He just doesn't. It's not in Hasan's nature to provide much evidence because he's not as prepared for this as he should have been. It's more of a, trust me bro, I can be trusted. I'm certifiable and credible. I'm like a Yelp review. Yeah. To the next clip.
Uh-oh. Can you please contend with the Avi Schleim quote that they left not because of Zionism, but because of they were afraid?
Dude, come on. Enough. You have Avi Schleim on the show. Talk to him about it, okay?
Okay, sure,
Maybe it'll go down exactly like you thought with Sam Cedar.
How did it go with Sam Cedar? I think if anything, Sam kind of embarrassed himself. I genuinely do. I hate to say it because I like Sam.
Dude, a 40-year-old man who needs a button when he has like a little oopsie moment is actually the one who's talking about Sam Cedar embarrassing himself.
Did I button during that debate?
He lowered himself to talk to you man to man and tried to explain to you what was going on.
That's what you asked for. Why would you want to lower his status?
Private, Ethan.
When it comes to the debate over or between Sam Cedar and Ethan Klein, I'm not entirely sure who won that debate. I watched it back. It's actually remarkably respectfully done, certainly by comparison to this one. I don't think Sam looked as great as many like to think he did, but that's just personal perspective, maybe a little bias. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a huge Ethan fan either, though, to be fair. But I will defend him in this area because I actually think he has a point. But many really don't want to get off their high horse. Although it has led to an increased number of people trying to flag Hasan for what has been dubbed terrorism, and then to find out that you're not allowed to do that. Hasan is to try and ban, which I find quite funny. Now, all in all, I think this debate went splendidly for us in the online space, because we get to sit back and enjoy this, knowing Hasan can't debate to save his life. We knew that from Willie Mack. We know he can't debate, and he's further proved it. He is afraid of people like Destiny, because he thinks he'll lose his channel. He won't. He could host it literally anywhere else. He's afraid of Sam Hyde. He doesn't really understand many of the issues he likes to comment on, but thinks he can for his own skewed political perspective. Hard fact, doesn't know politics, but someone's going to be pedantic enough to correct that. Don't bother, just unsubscribe. I'm interested in how this proceeds going forward. Seeing how the Orbiters have reacted has tickled me to no end, and I'm genuinely curious to know what all of you think about the debate. Do let me know in the comments down below. I will link it in the pinned comment along with the lolcow trading card game that I still have a thingamajiggy code doodah thing for. Support the channel. Thank you. If I don't see you on Twitch for some Dawn of War 2, hope to see you there. If not, have a wonderful day, and thank you all so much for listening. Ta-ta everyone.